Hello, good evening, everybody. You can all rise for the pledge of allegiance. To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Good evening, everybody. I'm going to switch this agenda just a little bit. We have accolades here tonight, and I would like to do those first. So, we'll wait just a minute for Mr. Brown and we'll start.
I'm going to read the, thank you. I appreciate your help. I'm going to read the accolades first and then we'll present it to you. On behalf of the school committee and from Superintendent Ed Mara, we would like to express our appreciation for the hard work and dedication to our school principals and assistant principals as part of our celebration of National Principals Month. Congratulations and thank you too. As you know, they're back. All right. Christine Hughes. Tara Baldwin. Deborah Courage. Miranda Carpenter. Dennis Burrell. Deborah DiBiase. And now the assistant principals. Dr. Andre Odette. Michelle Clifton. David Dakota. Michelle King. Robert Campion. On behalf of the school committee, the interim superintendent Nara, we would like to congratulate Angela Ella Perry for her leadership and spirit. Ella was recently featured in a story on Channel 12 News for her work collaborating with Sakonic to design her own speaker line to raise funds for the Boston Children's Hospital. We are very proud of her. Congratulations. In May, the school committee would recognize the outstanding teachers and support staff of the year. Due to COVID-19 restrictions beyond our control, we were unable to congratulate anyone in person. Now that the school committee is meeting in person again, we would like to take the opportunity to recognize the teachers and support staff of the year personally. Congratulations once again to the following employees for their continued support of the students of Bristol Warren Regional Building Teachers of the Year, Rockville Elementary School, Sarah Jacob. Guitarras Elementary School, Nancy Catalano. Hope Andrews Elementary School, Leanne Logan. New Cole Elementary School, Kelly Gregory. Kickamua Middle School, Erin Welchman. Eleanor Strella, Longmont High School. Now the building support staff of the year and district support staff of the year. Catherine West. Guitarras Elementary School, Julian Amato. No. Colt Andrews Elementary School, Peggy Rogers. Yuko Elementary School, Sherry Mallon. Kickapoo Middle School, Denise Goodman. Monroe High School, Edmundo Eddie Figueredo. And Oliver Administration Building, Sandy Boydens. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Just so you're all aware, October is National Principals Month. So try and take time to work here. All right, we're moving on to public comment. And the first person in list is Ellen Estrella. Ellen?
I'm Ellen Estrella, I'm the nurse here at Monroe High School, and my public comment is that I know on the agenda tonight is an increase in pay for substitutes. I think all substitutes are important, but I'm here to keep the case for anyone who's a nurse to substitute. We are in dire need of substitutes. We have exactly 0. We had exactly 0 last year. The year before that, we had 2. In previous years, when we had a decent rate of $250 a day, we had over 24 substitutes, so we never went without. We really need substitute nurses. We really need that increase in pay. It's increased in the districts all around us, and we need to be able to offer that same compensation. Last year, we had to use an agency when we had a nurse out for a week, and I'm quite sure that that cost a hefty little sum. So I'm just requesting that you increase the pay for some nurses. Thank you.
Thank you. I'm sorry. I'm going to give Carly an opportunity to say something next.
Thank you. I just wanted to mention with all of these awesome accolades, and I know there's so many other positive things going on in our district right now, but I wanted to say a special congratulations to our KMS cross-country team. They have covered state competitions this weekend, and one person in particular really set the state on fire, and that is our own Jessica Deal, who's an 8th grader. She was 2nd in the state. Very little people did exceptional, and I think all placed in the top 100 throughout the state. This could not have been done without the awesome coaching and assistance from Renee Chicanelli and assistant coach Liam Honors. The program was on the verge of not happening. We had a difficult time finding a coach, but Renee started the program at 4 o'clock. 4 o'clock to 5:30. So we did lose a handful of students, but I just wanted to say that they did an exceptional job motivating our students to be successful. And both of the teams really went above and beyond and supported each other, displayed exceptional sportsmanship, and really we should really be very, very proud of their behavior and performance. Thank you.
The next person you sound pretty good at deciphering, but I'm not looking on it and wanting to give it a shot. It's a Roger Mark. Okay.
Hi, my name is Roger Mark. I'm the parent of 2 children that are in the district. While I have few of the details, it's come to my attention that our exceptional Mountain High's principal has applied for and received grant funding for a project-based learning program. I also learned that bizarrely, 2 out of the 3 budgetary subcommittee members voted against approving this program. So I can't begin to understand why we would turn down grant funding, particularly for something so positive as project-based learning. As we work hard to attract and retain a new superintendent, as well as faculty, staff and students, plus better funding for our schools, it reflects very poorly on Bristol Warren to apply for, win, but then reject grant funding. I really are hoping to understand the true nature of the hesitation for the part of any school committee members who are finding that this grant program is anything other than something we're lucky to be selected for. Thank you.
Mr. Mark will be discussing that later on.
Thank you.
Peter Hewitt.
Good evening, everybody. I understand, I might be wrong, but I understand, clarify if I'm wrong. During the action items on the agenda tonight, there may well be a program seeking acceptance and approval by the school committee, a program called Freedom Dreams. It's a program in which the CEO and founder, Simona Simpson Thomas, seeks to have this program occurs accepted by the Bristol Warren School District for purposes of providing professional training to teachers. I've opposed that program. From the little I know of it, from the brief Google search I was able to do, as you know, I am not a fan of critical race theory. I'm opposed to it for reasons I previously stated. You know that I'm opposed to it. I don't know exactly how your position is with regard to the support or opposition of critical race theory ideology getting involved or ingrained in the Bristol Warren Regional School District curriculum. I would love to know what your positions are, but I've been told I'm not allowed to ask you that question, which I find problematic. The Freedom Dreams program, as far as I could tell, is very definitely, clearly, a critical race theory ideology predicated in front with critical race theory thinking and rationale from the standpoint of it being an empowerment program for Black and brown students and only Black and brown students for purposes of achieving excellence through an equity outcome system. I'm not a fan of equal outcomes. I'm not a fan of anybody in the school district guaranteeing outcomes to any student or any group of students. I believe in equal opportunity for every student, and I think the school can promise every parent that any kid coming to the Bristol Warren school system, that the school district, the superintendent can guarantee to the best of their ability that every student, regardless of race, color, creed, whatever, will be afforded every equal opportunity to excel up to the individual's abilities, aptitude, perseverance, work ethic, and desire to excel. But it cannot be forced on every student, and not all students can be made arbitrarily to be equal in terms of its outcome. So I would hope that to the extent that I am correct, if Freedom Dreams program is coming before you tonight for a vote to approve or disapprove, I would hope that you would at least look at the program, decide for yourself whether it is or is not based upon critical race theory ideology, and if it is, please disapprove the program.
It would be on the agenda.
If it's not on the agenda,
It is
Freedom Dreams?
yes.
What?
It's on the agenda under requisition to spend over $5,000.
I know, it says nothing on here about Freedom Dreams program, so if that's on the agenda, it should have been.
It's not on the agenda. It's part of the-
Because I'm saying, when he gets up and talks, I don't know what he's talking about. So if it's a matter of you need to put it.
well, this same program
Officially on the agenda, or if
this
you're talking
application,
about something that is not on this agenda,
this
or that needs to
application
be
for this
explained to
program,
us,
excuse
we
me,
need to understand.
excuse me. This program, Freedom Dreams, was presented to the subcommittee on budget, and it was voted down 2-1. And my understanding is it's going to be presented to the full committee this evening.
Well, I didn't see Freedom Dreams on a budget agenda either, so I don't know what you're
Well,
talking about.
then I guess you're not going to be voting on it. So my concern is unfounded. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. The next thing on the agenda is the consent agenda. I need a motion to accept the consent agenda. Move to accept. I need a second. Discussion. Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Yes.
Can we get the total number of high school requests?
Is it one?
It's 11 this time, but
You want me to ask, Dr. Mark, can you provide the school committee with the total number of homeschool requests to date? To date, sometime next week, please?
Actually, I think Dr. Sana has it right here.
Oh, all right. I didn't know.
So we have 11 requests this evening, and then previous to that, we had 62. And during the last school year, we had a total of 69.
Did you like that, Mike?
no. Just repeat it.
Oh, I'm sorry.
What did we get?
Plus 11?
So we have 11 for this evening. Previously approved were 62, and last year the total was 69. Just as a comparison to where we are.
Does anybody else want it? And you start running. All right, Mr. Carucci, did you have something you wanted to say about this? Do you have something you want to say about this? I believe you have a full office now.
Thank you, I just said thank you.
Thank you. All right, we're moving on to action items. All of these, I'm just going to tell you, because it's not written here, that all of these action items were forwarded by the, recommended by the Budget Facilities Subcommittee with the exception of C. So let's start with A, approve the FY23 budget process schedule, which is actually for those of you in the audience, we're going to table our policy that we have right now in lieu of a new policy that Mr. Frucci has given us for this year. So I need a motion.
So,
Anybody want to discuss it?
Maybe Sheila was gonna do what I was gonna, I just would like for the public to know what the changes are now.
So what Mr. Ferrucci did was he gave a specific timeline with dates of when we can expect as a subcommittee and as a full committee and for the principals in our district of what the process is going to be going forward for FY23 budget. So Mr. Ferrucci went through and put specific dates of when he's going to request information, when he's going to set up meetings with the principals, and when he's going to get back to us. As most of you have probably heard Mr. Ferrucci say, the budget really is kind of an ongoing thing. It's not like something we just create out of thin air. He's going to be doing a zero-based budget with the principals, meeting with the principals, and this is just the outline of all the specific dates where we never had that before. So it's going to be a great process and a great add to not only the subcommittee level, but also the full committee level. Mr. Ferrucci, what I need to add?
Yes, thank you. Thank you. To clarify for the public, basically, the current school committee policy has the budget process starting for next year on or about mid-September. And of course, we're almost into November. And so what I've done is, all I will for drop dead date is to have a budget by March 1st for the Joint Finance Committee. We will be on board for that. So basically what we've done is reorganized and put time and date stamps as to what's going to transpire between now and March 1st to assure the community that the budget will be delivered to the JFC on time.
So what we're modifying is just the front end. We're not starting in September necessarily, but now starting towards the tail end of October and early November. So it's about a 2-month catch-up based on our transition. And I expect next year to be back to what our school committee policy is back to September.
That would be my follow-up. Thank you.
Any other questions? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it. The second one is an approval of requisitions over $5,000. Can I have a motion, please?
So
Second.
Discussion?
I just have one question, and that is, because obviously, we stand for budget balance to date, and there's one line item here that brings that item over budget already, so I'd love an explanation of that.
I think you're referring to the athletic and scholastic league fees. They are projected to utilize all those fees, including playoffs. So if they don't have the playoffs later in the season, we'll have some savings programs. So this is the worst case scenario. I expect that between other periods, we may be able to capture those overages if in fact we have that level of need in high school, middle school for that particular sport.
Thank you, so nothing else will come out of this line item?
That's correct.
Thank you.
Yes.
Dr. Gucci, I totally forgot on the, and this is one on our meeting, is the Apple computer, it's $5,620 for Still Warren Ed Foundation. What exactly is that's not hard computers, is it? Like real Apple computers?
That's my understanding.
That is technology for the middle school broadcasting program.
So that is actual hardware, like computers?
Yes, it is.
And do we have a plan on how we're gonna refresh those?
Well, it's a 5-year refresh cycle, so at that point, we would either look for grant funds or another way to fund it.
You want to vote on that one independently?
Yes.
All right. Which letter is that?
It's requisition 634.
All right, so I need for you to make an amendment to the motion to reflect the fact that Sheila has requested that we remove the iPad or a separate vote. Yeah,
It just says Apple.
it's iPad.
For the broadcast.
Oh, I don't know.
Yes, CMS.
It is, I have the information in front of me, it's for one MacBook and for a set of iPad minis for the students to use to view their broadcast journalism class.
I'm just concerned of like how we're gonna refresh this. That's what we've been getting, kind of in the district. We get these grants and then we can't afford to refresh them, and then it becomes like a burden of the district, which we then can't afford to refresh them. So that's my concern of getting assets in without adding it to a plan and how we're gonna pay for it going forward. Is my concern.
Yeah, we would have 5 years to be able to come up with funding on an alternate grant funding.
Right, and we've been saying that with a lot of the assets, and I'm just concerned when we piling up and we don't have a plan.
One computer and mini iPads for the students. I don't know how many.
Madam Chair, should we vote on everything else and then turn around and vote on that separately?
Do I amend the motion or do I accept the vote?
Right. Okay, so you need to amend the motion to remove it from the total page.
All right, I need a motion.
I'll make a motion to approve, the requisitions over 5,000, excluding, rec number 634, the Apple computers.
I need a second.
Second.
All right, all in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? All right, you guys have it that we're working on that amendment right now. So, any other discussion on that amendment? We're not.
So it seems it would be a
It's not a
lot
public
easier.
comment, it's a comment on the
Excuse me,
agenda.
it's out of order, Madam Chair.
Yes, you are.
Pardon
You're out of order, sir.
me? Let me just make a comment if I may.
You're out of order, please.
You are voting to approve requisitions over $5,000.
You're out of order.
Has no idea what those requisitions are.
Are out of order. please.
I may be out of order, but you're out of line not to include in your agenda what those requisitions are that you are voting to approve
Sir,
and
you're out of
second it
order.
without discussion. And that goes to item C also.
You are out of order.
Well, would you please address my concern?
Mr. Ewan,
And then I will
sit down,
remain
you're
in
out of
order.
order, please. Madam Chair, I think an easier way to do this is to approve the items over $5,000, except for that one. Approve that as a motion.
You just did.
No, she's calling it an amendment.
Well, that's what I thought you said.
Yeah. All right.
So I would like you to withdraw your motion and who made the other motion?
Make a motion to approve the over $5,000, except for that.
I just did.
You did that. Who seconded?
Sure.
All right, well, is it all in favor?
Yes.
All right, so that's approved. So now go back to the other slide.
I need a motion on the Apple computers for at least discussion. So moved. I need a second.
Second.
Discussion.
I'm sorry, I'm just concerned with, the refresh of these assets. We've been stuck in where we've gotten these or received computers or hardware from grants, which is great, but then our refresh cycle, we can't support it. And this has happened at the high school, just this past budget cycle, that we couldn't afford to refresh these, and it's happened time and time again for the 3 years I've been on. So I just think we need to figure out how we're gonna refresh these before we keep buying. And it's a great program, it's just, we can't keep adding assets in that we can't afford to pay. We don't have a plan to pay, long term.
So we did take that into consideration in order to minimize the cost. We're not providing a device for each student, so the students would use the mini iPads much in the way that you would use a video camera to do video, to do interviews, things like that. And then the software on there allows them to edit it in order to be able to broadcast it. So we're not purchasing expensive video cameras, we're not purchasing the device for every student. So in 5 years from now, the refresh cost would be the $5,600.
And added to the other ones that we had.
Correct. Yeah,
How many are we talking about here? How many mini are we talking about?
4. So the students would be working in a small group.
And that.
Madam Chair? Yeah. I understand the concern about having all of this technology that we can't afford to replace. But for me, we either take the grant money and we have them for 5 years, or we don't and we don't have them for any years, right? Those are our two choices. So to me, to have this tech and to provide this opportunity for 5 years worth of students is 5 years better than not having it for any years, right? Am I missing something?
Yeah.
So we'd be,
I'm happy to explain, I don't need to explain myself, I already did. So that's your.
no, I'm just, those are the two options, right? Have them for no years or have them for 5 years.
So we're talking about refusing a gift of $5,620. Huh.
Madam Chair, I just have
Is it possible for us to get a list of all equipment that has been grant funded? Just because I don't know, I know what we have as we've done the asset program plan with all of the equipment that we purchased as a district, but is it possible for us to get a list of all grant funded electronics technology?
We can certainly do that. It is not very much, the majority of it would be at the high school for the career and technical education programs or any program that requires a higher end device or software that can't be done on your own. But we can certainly get that to you.
Thank you.
This is money from the Bristol Warren Education Foundation, is that correct?
Yes, it is.
So if we vote this down, Bristol Warren Education Foundation still has that money, is that correct? And that money is supposed to go to the Bristol Warren District, is that correct? So that means if we vote it down, we're just voting down this particular use of it, but it could be used for something else, is that correct? Thank you very much.
Yeah.
I think maybe it's a little bit short-sighted to, I don't think we can offer a 21st century education without tech. So to refuse a grant funding for basically a handful of technology that would allow a class of students to do something that they wouldn't otherwise be able to do. I don't really, and 5 years is a long time. Does anybody buy a computer and go, I'm not going to buy a computer because I have to buy a new one later? I don't understand that thinking behind that.
Anybody else have? I'll say it, it's like getting playground equipment, beautiful playground equipment is free. And as soon as it's in our building or on our grounds, we have to repair it, replace it, and maintain it. And the grant allows for purchase, but it doesn't allow for maintenance. And maintenance is something, as Ms. Zelter said, that we've been faced with. We've certainly faced with it in the elementary grade with the iPads that they received from another grant that didn't work. So I'm concerned that there's no wiggle room. If one gets dropped, that's one we have to buy. So it's not quite as clear cut as we're refusing money. I think we're more to the point we're refusing to have to take care of that product for that time period. And that's all I'm saying.
But we're also refusing an opportunity for students.
Agreed. So, yes, I know that. We do that every day. Okay. All right, does anybody else have anything to say?
The only other quick thing I would add is that I believe that as the leadership of this district, a huge part of our job is to provide the best educational opportunities for our students, protect our taxpayers, and support our teachers and staff in their creativity and their brilliance. And turning this down is the antithesis of all of those three things. It's taking an opportunity away from the students. It is taking away free money. It's turning down free money, and it's also kind of a snub to the teacher who came up with this idea and applied for the grant.
And I'll just add to that I completely agree and would say that what our job should be is to figure out how we pay for the refresh when the time comes, but not deny students and teachers this opportunity.
Yes. So if this doesn't go through, then they don't get the money to use.
Speak up, please.
If we don't accept this tonight, do they not get the grant money to use at all? Correct. The money is still with wet. The money is still what? We are saying, if you vote no, then you are voting not to accept the grant. I was just confused from your question about.
Yeah, the money is still going to be there in the Bristol Warren Education Foundation, and they will be using it for some other way. It's when we still want to get that money back.
Or that program could still use the money, right? They just can't spend it on the computers, I think, right? They still have the grant. Right. They just can't do anything with the money.
So the personal learning actually exists to help supplement learning and innovative programs for our students in our district. And they're the ones that funded this grant. So I'm just kind of, again, I'm very confused that, again, we're being short-sighted enough to use again, for an organization that exists in order to help our district, provide additional opportunities, money, and funding for innovative and creative ways. I don't understand.
Jill?
I'm looking at it from the financial aspect, and financially, we've taken grants in with equipment that when it breaks, we can't afford to repair it, or when it gets out, when it becomes obsolete, we can't replace it. And financially, we're getting in a healthy position because of Tony, and he's trying to get us there. We can't keep adding on top of everything and expect us to be financially healthy. It's not gonna happen. And I look at this as we just went through a budget process where we had to replace a bunch of computers, and it should have been replaced 3 years ago, but we didn't have the money. And some of those computers were purchased on a grant where we didn't have a plan of how to refresh that program. Or those computers, it became an operating expense to us that we could no longer afford. So yeah, I am looking for it as an aspect of we can't spend everything with the outcome of being, it's gonna be a burden on our bottom line at the end of the day, because this has been happening. We can't, if it breaks, we can't fix it. We just don't have the financial, if Wes can replace them, if they break or get dropped, or maintain them, that's great, but that's not what is in front of us. And we can't afford it.
Okay, anybody else? Yeah, yes.
So Tony, please tell me if this is me putting you on the spot, because I certainly don't want to put you in an awkward position, but I'm guessing that because other districts also are presented with grant opportunities, that this is something that you have dealt with before, where districts have received grants such as this, okayed the grant to go to a purchase such as this that needed some type of update or maintenance down the road that would cost money. And I wonder if you might be able to weigh in at all on past experience.
I hear both points that are being raised this evening, but I also hear a very common point that I think answers the question. We have 5 years to come up with a 5-year plan. And so budgets cannot be something that you just do because you're supposed to do a budget and then put it on the shelf and forget about it. So I know the technology department has a 5-year plan. And I think in earnest, you have to adopt 5-year plans to plan B. So saying that 5 years from now, this is going to be replenished, it's built into our 5-year plan. We know what the target is to do that. And if it isn't this technology, it's going to be something else. This technology only lasts 3 years. So our students can't afford not to have the latest technology because they won't be able to leave here and function in the workplace. So I think a common point is building a 5-year plan that is real. You don't do it just for an exercise. So that's my comment. I hear common ground, I get a disconnect at this particular point in time, but the common ground is how do we create a 5-year plan that's sustainable and stays real for the district's future.
So that there is follow-up.
Yes.
To a purchase, to a potential.
And whether funding that 5-year plan through grant solicitation, donation, active engagement, and those kinds of things, you can't wait 5 years and then say, hey, let's go find a donation. I think you start that in year 2, 3 years from now. And we want to raise within 3 years X numbers of dollars and get community support, get 50 behind it. It's about making a specific target today, but build it into your future thinking so that it takes care of itself as it comes in.
And that is how we are currently operating in our tech department and department as well. Thank you.
I'm just concerned, and I'm gonna ask, that maybe we really look at this in the future, when we have these grants that everybody says we found money and we can spend it, and look at us, aren't we lucky? That we have some sort of plan with the grant, excuse me, that indicates how we're gonna pay for it when the time is up, because I think that Sheila has a very valid point, but I also think they do as well. However, you can buy a new car today and drive it out of the showroom and total it 2 hours later. You have insurance because it's totaled, but you still have to buy a new car. And if somebody drops the iPad, the iPad Pro, that's a chunk of change. So I think that when you say we have to look at it down the road for 5 years, I say we have to look at it the day it goes into the class. So I'm looking at it from that perspective, understanding that children should have state of the art, but also understanding that sometimes you drive, no offense to anybody, but sometimes you drive a Ford and sometimes you drive a Mercedes, and that's how it works. All right, hearing all that, let's take a vote. All in favor of accepting this grant, raise your hand, please. All opposed? The ayes have it. All right, the next thing on the agenda is the requisition to spend over $5,000 at the Mount Hope High School.
No, you already did. I pulled it out.
Requisition to spend over $5,000 at the Mount Hope High School for a project-based learning program, which is brought up tonight, by some gentlemen in the audience. So I need a motion for the, and a second so we can discuss it.
So,
All right, discussion. If nobody, I'll start the discussion. Here's my problem. I think that project-based learning is a great idea. I think we do a lot of it in high school every day. And it's part of what you see when you go in when they're seniors and you see their portfolio. And you see the things that they've done and the projects that they've created. So I'd like to see that. I'd like to see that continue. The problem for me is a budget one. And I'll be quite honest with you. There was a grant, an anonymous grant, that was given, I'm not sure who it was given to, but Wes is the fiduciary, has the fiduciary responsibility for that grant. And in fact, when we get a grant of that size, we vote on it as a school committee to accept the grant, and then we parcel out where the grant goes and how much money how much money is coming in and going out. We didn't have that option. So somewhere in there is $20,000 that we have no idea where it is. We don't have it. We didn't vote on it. And now they want another $7,000 to finish the project. And I can't vote on it because I never voted to accept the donation in the first place. And that's something that we've been doing all year long. So it should be no surprise to anyone that when a donation comes in to us, anonymous or otherwise, for any number of things, including scholarships, the school committee has to accept the donation. The school committee has not accepted this donation. So for me to add another $7,000 to this donation, it's just something I cannot do. So for that reason and that reason alone, I'm voting no. And I'm reminding everybody in the district that it's critically important that you bring those grants before the school committee, just like we did with the one that we just voted on. That's number one. Number two, the district is supposed to be the the fiduciary agent, not the high school, not an outside organization, but the district. We control the funds going in and out. And we're just not happy with this. So as much as I understand what you're saying, and as much as I'd like to move forward, we have a very good CTE person here who has been working on that and can continue to work on that. And we can continue to accept our grants and do our work appropriately. So that's my statement for tonight. Thank you. Anybody else?
I'd like to say something. I don't know, I don't think I was on school committee when the second part of this came in. I was wondering how much of the XQ 20,000 has been spent as part of this?
Just a little under $9,000, there's about $11,600 in the bank.
Okay, so the XQ money could be used to pay for this professional development.
That's my understanding that fits within the scope of that rate, yes.
XQ money is gone.
No.
It is,
Yeah.
not according to the bank book.
The invoices that have been submitted, should have already sent the 20,000 from the XQ, but maybe.
I can't hear you very well. Could you come up to the podium?
Certainly.
It's my understanding that, based on invoices that have been submitted, for some of that, for the summer training as well as teacher stipends, that the XQ funds themselves have been completely used. But that's my understanding at this point.
Going to the balance sheet I ran at 3 o'clock this afternoon, it's $11,600 in the bank. So
Okay.
I took that as possible because all those have been paid in arrears unless they're sitting on the basement and have been turned in.
All of the invoices that I have received, I have submitted, but that's certainly something that we can look into.
Because if there is still XQ money available for this, then you would have no objection.
There's no XQ money that we went over XQ budget last year.
Now, this was the momentum budget, the executive momentum grant.
Is this the one, the anonymous donor?
No,
Where is that anonymous donor's money?
it's my understanding the anonymous donor's money is with, the Bristol Warren Ed Foundation. There were two funding sources that we have utilized. One funding source was the XQ Momentum Grant that we received following the XQ Planning application grant. That was a $20,000 grant from XQ. That is what we have used predominantly for spending on the project-based learning initiative moving forward with all of the teachers. If there is still funding remaining in the XQ Momentum Grant, it certainly could be used towards that 7,000 towards that.
My question is, when did that XQ grant come in? 2019.
2019.
All right, thank you. Anybody else?
My concern is we have had phenomenal project-based learning programs, like the home building program that we had whenever 20 years ago, that people absolutely raved about and continue to bring up as an example of excellence in learning for our students. But that program went away because there was not a sustainable structure in place. But the problem is it'll go again. What we need is we need multiple paths on these projects. So there are multiple different projects happening at the same time. And to do that, unfortunately, we need to support and to train our teachers, because project-based learning 20 years ago kind of fell by the wayside because it wasn't rigorous enough. And the teachers were not trained to keep it going beyond, once those teachers retired and moved on or moved on to a different school, there was no train-the-trainer model. And this is what we're looking at now. This means that we have the flexibility and the agility to keep project-based learning programs going in our high school year after year instead of throwing this money at it now, it disappears when those teachers move on to do something else, or the price of lumber goes up, or for whatever reason, and suddenly that is just dead money once again. This is a way to make sure that this program is sustainable for years to come, because we are supporting our teachers, we're coaching them appropriately, and we're creating buy-in for our teachers because they're involved in the process. Let's not be short-sighted.
Well, first of all, I don't believe I'm short-sighted. Secondly, if the money had been appropriated correctly, we wouldn't be in here tonight, but we are here, and the money hasn't been appropriated correctly, and I'm not going to vote for that. We have great programs, and we're building more every day, and Tara was talking about the home building project and the money that we moved, that we shifted there. Things are working, and things are working well, and I think we need to sit back and take a look at what we have, and before we move forward. So no, I don't know.
So 20 high schools in the state got this money, and we're going to be the one that says we're not going to do it.
16.
Well, 14 got more, 16 got the 20, 2 got something else, and 2 got $250,000. So of the 20 schools that got XQ money, Bristol Warren, once again, headline, no thank you.
Well, can I ask a question? And this actually goes with probably Dr. D question. Because the XQ grant, momentum grant was here before I was. So I would like to see, especially since there's a discrepancy on what's been paid and how much money is in that account, if we can have a timeline and an actual spreadsheet of the account itself, what the expenses have paid for to date. That would be my first question, because I honestly, I had the same question that Amy had, how much we actually have in that account and what has it been spent on. I do appreciate the fact that this has come forward again, because on Wednesday night, I looked over things quickly. I made the statement that I didn't feel comfortable voting for it. Something just didn't sit right with me, and fortunately, I've been able to look into it a lot more this weekend. And so I looked at the XQ Momentum Grant. I saw that one of the schools that they're working on is Pontiac High School. So they received one of those larger grants. They're working towards their CTE program, and everybody knows I am all about CTE program, getting kids career ready. Half of our population do not graduate from college in Bristol and Warren. I am all about getting these kids real life jobs. But the more I looked into this, the less I felt comfortable with this particular vendor. Because my understanding is that we are not getting rid of the XQ Momentum Grant. We are not denying this anonymous donor spending. We are just questioning the vendor. Our job is to approve a contract. If I saw a vendor that I felt was going to get us where we need to be, who is Pontiac High School using? Who are they using to do their project-based learning? I thank you very much, Dr. Mark, for giving us that information on project-based learning. That got me, I was able to look up a lot more areas. I read through your plan. It's good teaching. It is good teaching. It is good teaching practice. Everybody, and I believe most teachers in our district are doing it anyway. I've talked to other schools in our area. One of my sisters is actually taking a professional development class for her administration degree. And I spoke to her at length about this. And she told me, this is what good practice teaching is. And we have four tests, and I want to apologize. I've had children at the high school for over 15 years, or under 15 years, and let me tell you, it has changed dramatically. The assessments have changed, the processes have changed, and so I can't remember who's doing it. But I know that every quarter they have to do a end of the year assessment. And that is in many classes, it's a project-based assessment. We're doing that. Our teachers are good. They are, I just do not feel
after looking through, and the Freedom Dreams is in the documentation that we received in the contract. When I went and I looked up and I reviewed that person, Simona, and her company, I didn't feel that that was a fit for our district. I did not feel that that is the vision that we're looking for.
Tara, can I ask specifically what is wrong, what you have a problem with and
You're not gonna be allowed to speak, so please keep your sit down.
So one of the goals.
Stay here until the floor starts.
So one of the goals is, for project-based learning is not what I do not see on her website anything about project-based learning. I see a lot about, goals, about increasing community capacity to address challenges of equity and academic rigor, that go with students who are, sorry, my brain is all over the place. Inequities, low income, multilingual learners, underserved groups historically. We do, but why, I do not like to label people. Why are we focusing on it? And the other question I have is, what were the other vendors? Who were the other vendors? Was this the only RFP that we received? What did the RFP look like that went out? This is over $5,000 contract, so we are supposed to receive, this was supposed to go out to bid. One of my questions was, who were the other vendors? You know what, it may be, it may be. But then it was also mentioned that there was a core design team. So I'm assuming in the first grant, the XQ Momentum grant, you put together a team. I'm assuming, I don't know for sure, but I'm looking at the timeline, the diversity committee that met in the summer of 2020 was probably part of this.
No, I was on the level.
Oh, I'm assuming.
Yeah, that's a
But what I'm guessing, well, I'm assuming a lot of things because an anonymous grant, or not anonymous, an anonymous source of funding that doesn't come directly to the school system, goes through a third party, also makes me nervous. Because it's policy making, and again, it just doesn't sit right with me.
Is it policy making or professional development?
So that's what it is. So to me, it's policy making, to you it's professional development. It's subjective.
Training, right?
Well, it's subjective.
And it's not our job to select it, it's the high school administration.
Correct. So I just want to see what the other vendors were.
Why? Because it's not our job.
Because it is my job to approve a contract. Yes, that is my job.
But it's not our job to make Dr. DiBiase let us know every little detail of a.
When it changes the policies of the district, it does.
How does it change the policy of the district? I'm confused. I don't understand that either.
You know what? No, that's okay. I'm okay with not understanding. It's just the way that I look at it, and it's the way that I feel about this particular contract. I don't have to apologize. I don't have to explain, but I can't support it with all of the information that I've taken in and done. If you guys support it, that's great.
I just have a question. I'm not accusing anyone of anything. I just don't understand because, Madam Chair, is it okay if I have, because, actually, Sarah, did you want to yield? Sarah?
Yeah, I'll use.
Oh, thanks, Sarah. I appreciate that. When you keep saying policy, I don't know what you mean because, and I don't even mean to be addressing you directly, like whoever is here and wants to answer, maybe Madam Chairwoman would. What in here has anything to do with policy? My other question is for Dr. Deb, because it was something that was asked, something that was said here by one of the school committee members, that most of our teachers are already doing project-based learning. I want to know if that's true. And then another committee member said that the money has been appropriated incorrectly, and I want to know what that was. Thank you. So policy, are our teachers already doing PBL, as has been stated up here, and how has the money not been appropriated correctly, if that is true? Those are my three questions.
Aaron, I didn't hear the appropriated.
You said that.
I said that.
And I'm really not attacking anyone, I just don't know what people mean when they're speaking, so I'm guessing the public doesn't, and maybe my other colleagues, and so I just want to be sure that we're not doing a lot of assuming.
The policy says that we must, the grant needs to come before the school committee and be accepted. And then the grant is managed by our, CFO, that's policy. And we have accepted grants for this district quite a number of times. We've also accepted, scholarships and all kinds of manner of things. In this case, there was no acceptance by the school committee of the anonymous donor, and we had an anonymous donor, I'm gonna say last year or the year before, who donated anonymously. We accepted it, and it went to, items at the high school. It had a direct and definite direction in where it's supposed to go. We don't have that here. And that, if we do that, then there's going to be money coming in all over the place, and Mr. Carucci is not going to know what's coming in, because I might decide to give a grant to Mount Hope High School, and I just might go in and write a check and say, here's a grant. I can't do that. We can't do that. And that's my argument.
Can I just, on that one, so in order for this not to happen in the future, are you suggesting that, because this anonymous donor gave the money to the Ed Foundation, is my understanding, that the Ed Foundation then says to the person, you cannot give this money to us, you have to give it to the school district?
I just speak for me, personally. I saw a letter that was dated July, and it came from BWRSD. So, the policy that you're referring to, my understanding, went into effect within the last 30 days, so all grants coming up. I've got a number of small grants and grants that have come in since last May, June, that we've been implementing. So, right now, from my perspective, and I'm confused, so I can clarify, is I'm not asking any organization that's giving us the letter saying we're willing to make a grant to your organization, what the source of those funds are, whether they received it as an anonymous donation or not. This letter just happened to mention that that's what they got. So I need, going forward, clearly the community needs to hear that all grants will be coming from the school committee. That's been very clear. And so you'll make that as a body decision. But the clerk has already advised me that they're giving out grants to teachers that they've been applying for, and that's been something we've been doing in this district for a number of years. And so the $5,000 in question earlier is the same, similar, it was allocated. So asking me if I had the funding, I had a letter of commitment from an organization that's been giving us in the better part of $50,000 to $100,000 a year for the last 3 to 4 years. So I would assume that that was just a grant that would have been applicable to this particular project. So I get going forward. Financially, it's there. I don't know if the source of the dollars seems to be a problem. If that's the case, then going forward, do we identify what sources of dollars that are being attributed coming in from any organization?
So as we've been operating, there wasn't money appropriated, correct?
Not when I read that letter that the award was back in July. When it was ready to give us $20,000, which is something that has been typically going on with that organization. So I didn't see that as being inappropriate. Nor the funding method, which how they raise it, whether people want to solicit donations, whether they have raffles, or they have car sale, how they raise the money is not something that I'm here in this district is exactly talking about on fire. So.
Thank you.
Mr. Carucci, one of the things that we did a couple of years ago was we asked for the fourth grant to come before the principal and then before the superintendent and the CFO. They didn't come to us, they came through that way. But those were small grants. And I don't think the $20,000 is a small grant. and I never saw it, and I went and looked at their sheet, which said that they were funding for this year, it's not there. So I want Wes to come to the school committee and offer a $20,000 donation from an anonymous donor, and then we can accept it, and then we can move forward.
I'm right here, Wes right here.
Thank you.
If you'd like me to step up, we can take care of that right now.
No, I would like to hear, because I feel like this is really not clear. I think it's, maybe perhaps people don't.
So I have a question for Ashley. Any contract that we have, the school committee approves the contract, right? Not a principal.
Correct. Any contracts are the purview of the school committee. So if there are contracts with any vendor, with any outside organization, with anybody, it has to be the school committee that approves them, not the superintendent, not a building principal.
Okay, so this contract that would, well, it's not really a contract because it's just what they're gonna do. It's $7,000, $700 a day. So it looks like it was supposed to start early October, so I don't know if other payments have been made to this vendor.
Are we looking at this?
We're looking, no, at the one, so I don't know, did everybody get it? It's not on our. It isn't, so it was on the budget facility. It's the packet that we got at our, that meeting on Wednesday. So it has the consultant, and it says 10/21. This is early October, it says. So had we entered an agreement without the school committee signing off on this?
I have no idea.
Does anybody know?
Not to my knowledge, but I'll defer to the principal.
No, we did not.
So the early October isn't the correct date?
It can't be, because this has been on the agenda for enough time now that we never anticipated we would have. It would take so much time to approve the contract.
Well, this just arrived on our agenda, the budget facility, on Wednesday. So, and it still said early October. So I'm just concerned if we're the ones, the school committee is the ones that approve contracts. I'm concerned that we entered an agreement that says early October that we didn't.
We did not enter an agreement, elsewhere. We did not enter an agreement. No payments have been made.
Okay.
Thank you, by the way. I would thank you for making the donation.
Would you like some context? Because it's clearly everyone's debating with not the right information, particularly as it relates to the web. So I'm happy to clear that up for you, Ms. McBride.
Hang on a second.
But, or not, I can sit down and we can pretend that Wes is in here to speak.
Hang on a second. All I wanted to say was some of the people at this table and some of the people in this audience don't know who you are.
Great, can I tell them?
Yes, that's what I was gonna ask you.
Thank you. I'm Darcy DaCosta. I'm the chair of the Bristol Warren Education Foundation. This grant is this $20,000 grant from an anonymous donor is actually lingering from 2018, when the donation was made. With this, while it wasn't a directed grant, meaning telling us how to spend the funds, they did entrust us to help them identify opportunities in the district that might benefit from the funds. And what they ideally wanted was real-world, project-based learning and an investment in programming that would reap rewards for many years if done correctly, rather than a one-off expense. That anonymous donor wished to remain anonymous because it wasn't important to them to be recognized. But understanding after some phone calls today from Tony, thank you, alerting me that there were some questions around this grant, has said I can disclose who made the donation, and I will do that. I will also say the reason that it's not listed in our grants on our Bristol Warren Education Foundation is because this came as a single $20,000 grant, unsolicited, outside of the normal ways that we raise money for the foundation, which is to generally fund projects that are brought to us through a grant process by our teachers and our administrators in the community. So this was a $20,000 donation that ideally would be to the purpose that I just described. And when Mount Hope and Dr. D pursued the XQ funding and received, lo and behold, the $20,000 grant. We came up as WEP with the notion of, why don't we double the impact of that XQ program by matching the grant from XQ with the $20,000 directed donation from the anonymous donor. And that was agreed to by the person who facilitated bringing the money to WEP. So I understand there was a letter that went to you that said something about us being the fiduciary, only in that that donor entrusted to WEP advice to council on a program that would benefit the district. And that donor was the ownership of Bristol Williams.
Thank you. Whoever the anonymous donor was, really wasn't important.
Well, it came up a lot. I heard anonymous donor, anonymous donor. The donor of these funds to the district was the Bristol Warren Education Foundation. And the grant was actually matched back in 2020. I'm sorry that in pandemic time, somehow that communication didn't find its way all the way to the school committee. But this was voted on at the WEF level to direct it to XQ, and alerted Dr. D that we would be matching the XQ funding with an additional $20,000. And WEF, as a policy, does not advise on, once the program is funded, exactly how those dollars are spent. We leave that to professionals in the district.
Okay, what it says here is that WEF is the fiscal agent for the donation.
I would say that was an error. We are not a fiscal
agent. And that
agent.
comes from BWRSD.
I think the wording could have been better. I don't know if anyone shared with you the letter that actually came from the WEF to the district about the funding coming from the WEF, but we did not refer to ourselves in that.
The other concern that I have, and I've said it before, and I'll say it again, and some people agree, and a lot of people don't agree. That's okay, but this administration and the school committee is responsible for the curriculum in the school. And that's why we accept grants for things, because we know it's coming in, we know why it's coming in, and we know where it's going. Because it's our job to make sure that the curriculum meets the needs of the students. So, having said that, the grant, any kind of grant, still has to come here. Because it is a part of the curriculum that you are driving with money.
And you can have that opinion. You are the chair, you have the mic. I am here simply as a representative of the foundation to clarify the funding mechanism for the XQ program for project-based learning at the high school.
And I appreciate that.
And that's, I can agree. And it is really too bad that we are in times that this money has been sitting around for almost 4 years now. We finally have a wonderful use for it. And instead of the hiring of a human being to execute professional development training, which I think is the agenda item, is a contract to train our teachers on this wonderful program, is now becoming an issue about our donation. It's really too bad. Because WEF has donated over the last 20 years or so, well over $500,000 to programs that have almost never suffered any of the ills that are being suggested about nonprofit funding of incredibly good ideas that come to our district from our educators.
I have been waiting a really long time to speak, Sarah, thank you. Can I ask a moment that really has fun? Actually, I literally had my hand up in the I'm sorry. Thank you. Thank you very much, Darcy, for explaining how WEF came to possess just temporarily that money. My concern here and my frustration is at the end of the day, the school committee seems willing to punish our students for a disagreement or a misunderstanding at how money is distributed. And that is infinitely frustrating for me. I don't understand why we have this need to refuse money and programming and other sorts of things that are caught up in some conspiracy theory ideas about what's going on in our school district. And I'm just so frustrated that our students and our staff, in an effort to better our community and our schools, continually replenished by these wrong-headed ladies.
Yeah. Listen, my kids have been punished for years, so welcome to the club. But, so, one thing that everyone is not understanding from what maybe I can speak correctly. Darcy, by the way, thank you very much for that information, because you answered a lot of questions that I did have, and I appreciate that. And I agree with the intent of the anonymous donation. And again, I already said with the XQ Momentum Grant, the Pontiac piece, I completely agree with it. But we're talking about a contract. That is our job. We're not talking, yes, the money is needed. Yes, project-based learning is important. We all agree. Everybody at this table agrees. We just don't agree on the vendor. And the only other thing is, did this go out to bid? Did it go out to bid? It's a $7,000 expense. When we go over 5,000, we're supposed to go out to bid. Did we go out to bid?
But this is,
No.
no,
Did we go
no,
out to
I'm
bid?
gonna answer you, because
You
I'm
know
telling
the
you,
answer?
we did not go out to bid.
But we need
It's
to.
not, it wasn't our project. This is what, okay, first
It is
of
our
all,
project.
what I would like to know, and this is for Mary Ann or the chairperson, someone's gotta figure this out. That $5,000 policy is not for grants, because in the 7 years I've been on here, we haven't used that approval over requisitions over $5,000 was for purchases that we were making. I have never, in the 7 years I've been here, seen this like grant. Again, I keep asking Tony, and I'm sorry, Tony, though I would appreciate it, though they haven't been needed, you're extremely well-informed and experience-based comments tonight. I have to keep asking you because I don't know what you've experienced in other districts. I know you've done this for a long time, and in my experience, I'm confused as to why this is even, it's like, is this web? Is this the district? Is this the high school? I mean,
Whereas grants don't differentiate the general fund when it comes to purchasing practices and policies. That's the school committee's policies and procedures, and then the business office functions underneath that law. State law is the one that sets up the $5,000 threshold, so that's how you got that law. My understanding, however, is purchasing is mandatory on bidding, but professional services, consultants usually typically fall in that basket, as do attorneys, etc., doesn't necessarily require bidding, because you're trying to gauge professionalism of the company on its task at hand. I'm not aware of a solicitation of other proposals to do that service that didn't come through my office. I don't know what the high school did to vet and or consider potential vendors, but I did not push the issue that a bid was required, because I looked at it as a professional service that was along the lines of what was typically done by consultants and negotiators. So that's not uncommon. I don't want this to denigrate into something that happened that's uncommon for any particular reason. This is aligned with past practices. Clearly, there's been a change in publicly recognizing grants, so that timing is slightly tilted, which we clarify this evening. I hope that answers your question.
Thank you.
Yeah, one more. Everybody gets one more bite of the apple.
So this came before the Budget Facility Subcommittee meeting Wednesday. I don't think anyone is against this project-based learning model and what is proposed for project-based learning. I think it's more, for me at least, is the vendor. And I did have an opportunity to go on and watch some of her YouTube videos and see what she offers in terms of what is she about, what's her website, what's her company about, which I do for every contract that we have that comes through this district. So I'm just gonna read you qualifications, and I think my concern is more that are we making sure that every child within our district, regardless of race or color or religion, is treated the same and fairly. I think we all can say that our kids, every child that walks through any of our doors, whether it's an elementary school, a middle school, or high school, all of our kids deserve everything. They deserve to be educated at an amazing level. They deserve respect. They deserve to be treated with respect and in turn respect others. I believe in the project-based learning. And Dr. Mara gave us an amazing article that explains a lot. Well, my concern is with the actual vendor. The vendor is the CEO and founder of Freedom Dreams, an organization committed to realizing the dreams of freedom by building intentional, innovative, and sustainable systems designed to empower Black and Brown excellence. And it goes on to say, and I agree with all of that, but I also agree with every other child that we have in this district. So my concern is, are we just focusing the project-based learning and those teachers to help just those, like that group of children, or are we helping every group of child, every group that's coming through our door, regardless of color, regardless of religion or what they believe in? I think that every child deserves an opportunity. And that's where I see huge effect. Yeah, I'm reading exactly the quote.
And you imply that I would favor one student over another.
I didn't say that.
It's on the qualifications. The microphones are all out of order, that's enough.
It's
Now,
on the
we've set it
qualifications.
up, we've set it up.
You haven't said it.
Yeah, look, we set it up, we're gonna do what I asked you for down, now we're gonna take
As
the.
a consultant,
It's enough.
this is
It's
the
not
the thing
the
that's project-based learning. People are turning critical race theory.
I'm just reading exactly,
But it's a really different thing. Let's stop education. Why don't you read where that?
I did, and I went on.
Stop right now, all of you. Order. I don't care what's on my paper, I've read what's on the paper, I'm asking for order here, and I'm asking for us to take a vote.
Too premature.
Mr. Hewitt,
No,
I told you.
My property taxes paid to the school. My property taxes paid to this vendor, and it took a half an hour for you people to come up and identify who the vendor is.
You're out of order. Please
I
sit
may be
down.
out, it's too easy to say I'm
You're out
out
of
of
order.
order, for you guys
Please sit down.
to shirk your responsibility
You are out
and
of
your
order.
accountability.
Please
We are in
sit down.
recess for 10 minutes.
You guys might be ashamed of yourselves.
No, sir, you should be.
No, I shouldn't be. No, I shouldn't be. I have a legitimate reason and a legitimate concern, and I'm a taxpayer, and my property tax is paid to this school system. I have at least the right to know who the vendor is and what are you spending $7,000 on. It took you a half an hour to admit that it's Freedom Dreams, and you said you didn't know what it was. And you're full of it.
Out of order.
That information did not come to this committee, it went.
You're out of order.
I want to clarify, please, Mark, that information did not come in supporting documents. So when I said, excuse me, I'm speaking, when I said that I didn't see this Freedom Dream
We're in recess.
to Mr. Hewitt, I did not see that, it was not in my document.
But it wasn't everybody's. So I want to make sure.
I didn't stop, we're